The moment those words left Stephen A's mouth, the internet didn't just react, it exploded. Because calling Bo Nix White Jalen Hurts isn't just a comparison. It's a challenge. It's a provocation. It's a statement that forces every NFL fan to stop and ask whether what they're watching in Denver is real evolution or just a carefully disguised illusion. And the timing of it couldn't be louder, coming right after a gritty 2013 Christmas night win over the Kansas City Chiefs that somehow felt both impressive and deeply concerning at the same time. Because on the surface, the Broncos did exactly what winning teams do. They controlled the game, avoided mistakes, protected the football, and walked out with a division win. But underneath that surface, the conversation immediately turned tense, uncomfortable, and brutally honest. Especially when Stephen A and Shannon started pulling at the thread of what Bo Nix actually is right now, and what he might not be when the lights get hotter, the pressure tighter, and the margin for error disappears entirely. This wasn't praise dressed up as criticism or criticism masked as praise. This was a full-blown challenge to the idea that Denver has found its guy. Because when you strip away the scoreboard and look at the substance, what you saw was a quarterback protected by caution, insulated by conservative play calling, and shielded from the very moments that define whether someone can truly lead a franchise deep into January. And that's why this conversation hit so hard, because it wasn't about stats. It wasn't about fantasy points. It wasn't even about wins and losses. It was about trust. And whether Sean Payton actually trusts Bo Nix when it matters most. Now, before we go any further, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you drop a like, because conversations like this don't happen everywhere. And if you want the unfiltered truth behind the headlines, you're in the right place. And now let's really get into it. The Broncos beat the Chiefs 2013, and on paper that sounds like a statement, especially against a division rival, especially on Christmas, especially with playoff positioning hanging in the balance. But context is everything, and the context here is that Kansas City was wounded, stripped down, missing Patrick Mahomes, banged up on the offensive line, thin in the secondary, and still Denver couldn't fully pull away. Still they played it safe. Still they operated like a team afraid of its own ceiling. And that's where the criticism started to burn. Bo Nix went 25 of 38 for 182 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And yes, he protected the ball. Yes, he managed the game. But this wasn't a performance that screamed dominance or confidence. This was a performance that whispered caution. Stephen A made it clear that what bothered him wasn't the win, it was how they won. Because when you know the other team can't hurt you the way they usually do, that's when great teams press the gas. That's when elite quarterbacks take control, and instead Denver pumped the brakes. They played not to lose rather than playing to impose their will. And that's the kind of mindset that gets exposed in the postseason when there's no tomorrow. The comparison to Jalen Hurts hits hard because it cuts both ways. Hurts is known for composure, for efficiency, for being steady under pressure, but he also earned trust through fire, through moments where the Eagles let him cook, let him fail, let him grow, and ultimately let him lead. With Bo Nix, that moment hasn't arrived yet, or worse, it's being actively delayed. The concern voiced wasn't that Bo can't do it, it's that Sean Payton doesn't seem willing to let him try. And that hesitation sends a message not just to the locker room, but to every defensive coordinator waiting in January, watching film, licking their chops. The Broncos played like a team that didn't believe Kansas City could beat them, not like a team that believed in themselves, and that difference matters. When Stephen A pointed out that they were conservative because they didn't see the backup quarterback as a threat, that was an indictment of the entire approach. They didn't need to blitz. They didn't need to gamble. They didn't need to stress their system because they didn't respect what was on the other side, and that allowed them to coast. But coasting in December is dangerous because January doesn't care about comfort. The moment you face a quarterback who can punish hesitation, everything changes. And that's where the real fear comes in. Because when you look at this Broncos team, you see flashes of competence, but you don't yet see inevitability. You don't see a team that can fall behind 14 and stare down the moment without flinching. You don't see an offense that can flip a switch and go nuclear when the game demands it. And that's exactly what Stephen A was getting at when he said he sees a team closer to being one and done than a legitimate threat. That's not hate, that's a warning. He talked about trust, about how play calling tells you everything you need to know about what a coach believes in his quarterback, and when the playbook shrinks, when the aggression disappears, that's a message louder than any press conference quote. It says, "I don't fully trust you yet." And in the playoffs, that lack of trust is fatal. The conversation even drifted into how elite quarterbacks are treated differently, how when you have a Mahomes or a Brady, you can survive ugly games because the belief is baked in. But Bo Nix hasn't earned that luxury yet, and no amount of conservative wins will change that until he's allowed to stand in the fire. That's why the "White Jalen Hurts" label is so provocative, because it suggests potential without proof, structure without chaos, efficiency without dominance, and that's a dangerous place to live in the NFL. It's comfortable, but it's fragile. And when the margins tighten, when one mistake ends your season, comfort gets exposed. The Broncos' defense did its job, maybe even more than its job, and yet the offense never fully capitalized, never delivered the kind of statement that silences doubt. Instead, the doubts grew louder. The talk about playoff readiness, about momentum, about whether this team is peaking or plateauing, all of it circles back to one question: do they trust their quarterback enough to let him win or lose the game on his own terms? Because right now, the answer feels like no. And that's why this conversation matters. Not because of disrespect, not because of hot takes, but because this is the moment where franchises reveal who they really are. You can hide flaws in November. You can scheme around them in December. But in January, the truth shows up, uninvited and unavoidable. And until Bo Nix is allowed to step into that truth, until Sean Payton takes the leash off and lives with the consequences, the Broncos will continue to win games while losing belief. And that's the most dangerous place a contender can be.